about the seasons, think about textures and components. So we basically started off with risotto. But you know, kind of pedestrian, right? We've all had risotto, you know. So instead we took it a little bit different. We actually used Local 1, which is a Belgian Strong Golden, which has some nice honey notes, kind of almost like the Golden Monkey, but you know, just to play it up a little bit different, we took Blue Hubbard squash, which, you know, squash, the hard squashes are just coming into season. So we took this whole concept and made basically a broth or a stock by cooking this, and then we pureed it with some of the beer and folded that into the risotto, where we also had taken some butternut squash, some parsnips, and some purple carrots that were all painstakingly diced in the little tiny dice, and blended that all in with some truffle butter and some Parmesan cheese. So that's our base. So you start thinking about all the flavors with this, right? You start thinking about the complexity right there. So then on top of it, we took a nice mirepoix, your carrots, your celery, your onions, and we kind of caramelized those a little bit. We also took beef short ribs and seared those off, and then we deglazed it with the brown ale from Brooklyn, which has a nice malty hint of rose, touch of coffee in the background, and then veal stock, and reduced that down and braised this overnight. Then we took some snails, and we actually braised these in some stock as well with a little bit of mirepoix, and we added in just a little bit of orange just to kind of give it a little brightness, because the short ribs are going to be heavy, and they're so rich and they're so fatty and yummy. So we have all these different flavors, and we've now taken the braising liquid from the short ribs, reduced that down to a nice sauce over the top, a little fleur de sel on top of that just to accentuate the meat. And we have Local Number 2, which Local Number 2 is more of a Belgian double, and it has a lot of caramel notes, and as you taste some of the vegetables and the squashes, you really kind of start to understand that beer and why the pairing went. And then you'll also start to see that kind of open up until almost like a dried fruit kind of complexity, and as you taste the meat, you'll kind of get some of that irony meaty with that kind of dried fruit flavor, and it's really going to take this pairing a lot differently than the last course, where the last course was more in your face, and this is where it's going to kind of go back a little bit, because you know, you kind of hit your apex, you know, on the fourth course, you know, we're slowing down a little bit, but also too, just these flavors, and this dish, you know, really, the fall, the braising, the winter nights as it's raining like yesterday, but you know, I guess without the humidity. So yeah, so I think you really enjoyed this. I mean, a lot of thought went into this dish, all the different components to kind of break them apart and then put them back together with overlaying these notes of beer. So with that I want you guys all to enjoy it. So.